By the way, I will be recording the program, and if you don't want to be recorded, if you just turn your video off, you won't be seen. And if you don't say anything, you won't be heard either, okay? So you are recording? Okay, great. So obviously, then the issue becomes leadership. Because if you're going to work with a group of people to produce a result, you require a leader, or you need to be a leader. Now, if we look at the world that we are in today, and I don't mean just because of COVID, although COVID has sharpened it, made it sharper, made it clearer. If you look at the world we are in today, lots of things that we took for granted, we can no longer take for granted. For example, in the old days, what did a leader mean? In the good old days, some people might say. In the good old days, what did a leader mean? You told people what to do and they went and did it. And to be a leader, you need to have the charisma and you need to have the power to tell people what to do in such a way that they will do it. And that is what good leadership was. Nowadays, people are not so ready to listen to what you have to say. And if you don't believe me, look at your own family and look at your teenage children. They're not very happy to do what you tell them to do. They want to know why. They want to know how. There are a whole lot of questions are evolved. And then when you start working the way we are working post-COVID, where people are, or in this COVID situation, where people are all over the place in different areas. You don't even have them in the same room with you. How are you going to control them? How are you going to make this thing work? So clearly, we need to develop some new skills as leaders, and we need to be competent in a way we didn't need to be in the past. So new competencies. We need to develop new skills and what are those skills and what are those competencies? So let me just share my screen with you and let's see if I can get something up here. So we call ourselves Global Transformation Consulting, the group of us who are working together in this. We call ourselves Global Transformation Consulting. And our work, what we are up to, is to transform the awareness, consciousness with which organizations, society, and individuals operate. So that's what we are interested in. So now let me talk about what is happening now. What is happening now? See, what is the way we normally learn is up on the screen. The way we normally learn is by reflecting on references of the past. You go to college and what do you learn? Stuff that other people have learned before you and they're passing on to you in books and through lectures and stuff like that. You go to school, what do you learn? You learn what somebody else has learned before and they pass it on to you. So that's how most learning is done. Companies learn by looking into the past to see how they operated in the past in certain situations. Can they apply the same things? Can they change and modify and apply it to now like that? So it's all learning by reflecting on references of the past. I think you'd all agree with me, wouldn't you? That's how most learning is done. Now, unfortunately, if we look at the situation we're faced with today, especially with this COVID situation, right? We are frantically trying to bring the COVID situation to a place it used to be before we got attacked by this virus. Then we will know what to do. So I live in the UK. There's a big issue going on about opening up the economy again, about people should now not work at home and come and work in the offices. Why? Because the other people, the economy, which is made up of transport, they're not making enough money on trains and buses. They got a problem with the vendors who make sandwiches and other things who are also part of the economy, the lunch economy. They are not going to be able to run their businesses, you know, all the other things. While there are benefits to working from home, it is also expensive for the economy to work from home. So the question becomes, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with it? You can look into the past as far back as you want to go. You won't find a way that people have dealt with this in the past, because there are so many things that are different. Therefore, you need to learn from some other place. Learn from the future. What do you mean? How can you learn from the future? It hasn't happened yet, right? Learn from the future as it emerges. There is a future that is emerging today. And it's a future that's not an extension of the past. That means whatever happened in the past, you extend it a little bit in the graph and you'll get to that. It's not that. If you could extend it, then you could learn by reflecting on references in the past. But if there is no connection with the past, then you're going to need to learn from this thing that's coming in. Learn from the future as it emerges. And we call that presencing. That's what Otto Scharmer calls presencing. You know, back many years ago, I used to work with a group of people, and one of the things they talked about was this B thing. One of the things they talked about, that is like laying the track for the train to run on as the train is running. How do you do that, right? You know, the train can run along a track that's been laid, but that track's been laid in the past. But if it's not been laid in the past, what do you need to do? You need to get out in front of the train and put the tracks down so that the train can run on it. And how do you do that? Well, that's a good question. But that's something that we have to solve. And that's what this program is designed to address and to allow ourselves to really start to look there into that future. Now, how do you do that? Well, what we propose and what the theory U proposes is the U process. It's called the U process. What he did, what Otto Scharmer did, is he went around, he was studying deep innovation, you know, something new, creating something new, deep innovation. And what he did was he interviewed 150 successful innovators, entrepreneurs, and creative people, thought leaders, on how did they make this thing work? How did they make the innovations work? How did they create the innovation? And they came up with, what he got from them was that there was just two types of learning. There were these two types of learning: reflecting on the past and presencing and actualizing the future as it starts to appear. So the innovators were people who actually were presencing and actualizing, making real, actualizing the future as it emerged. So, so before we go to how do you do that, I think I'd like to have a little bit of a dialogue, right? So I'm sure that you got some questions to ask me. So why don't you ask me the questions and then we'll move on from there. How about that? Is this interesting what I'm saying? If it is, then I'm sure you gotta have questions. Big question is, how do you do it, right? No questions?
No, I think.
Yeah.
I think I have a question.
Yeah, great. I like that.
Yeah, because it is interesting how you put it, and I'm thankful that it is very clear. Unfortunately, we have a learning that we reference to the past, and now we learn from the future through processing.
Mm-hmm.
But then we have a chasm. We have a gap between. There's always a gap between the past and the present. I mean, and the future.
Yeah.
which we call the present.
Yeah.
And you are not feeling as in. How
Well,
does
yeah, that's the question, isn't it? How do you do that? How do you fill that in, right?
yes, yeah.
Right. I got it. I got it. I just want to make sure people are with me. They haven't left me. Their bodies are here and they are not here. By finding out what questions do you have. Somebody else, what do you think? Do you think this is correct, what he's saying? Or you have another question? Yes, please, Brijesh.
Uh, See, I could really understand what you said in terms of when you say we learn generally from the past.
Right.
When you said let's learn from the future and create innovation, what I could understand out of it is, everyone as a human being has a ability to predict future, and from the prediction of future or what we can see, what is coming up in the near future, we start preparing ourselves and do some innovation and creative thinking and implement that at our workplace or in our life. That is what I think you mean by the learning from future, or is it something else?
No, no, it's something else, Brijesh. Because what if you have no idea from the past about what the future is going to be? Then what do you do? And today in the COVID situation, we are there, right there. And some of us are pretending we're not there, but we are.
Yeah.
Right. And even before COVID, things were moving so fast, so many changes were happening that we didn't know. See, if you take Nokia, the Nokia phones, remember once upon a time, Nokia phones were, everybody had a Nokia phone.
Right.
It was taking over the world. Where are the Nokia phones today? They're gone because the iPhone came in, something else came in that displaced this completely. And the Nokia people were not focused on that something like this might happen. Then how do we deal with it? They were not focused on a future that was emerging. They were not there in time to watch and smell the future that was emerging. Kodak is the same thing. Kodak was famous for film. And today, where's Kodak? And where's film? And this is before COVID. Now, COVID has made it about 100,000 times worse. So infrastructurally, things are going to get worse. So the point is, Brijesh, that's a very good point you brought, which is that, yeah, we could look into the past, and if you're smart, and there are a lot of programs you can participate in today online, which do exactly what you're saying. Look into the past, see what you can do, how can you make it happen, which is a smart thing to do, because a lot of the stuff can be dealt with that way. But what about that which can't be dealt with that way? Then what do you do, right? So my answer to you is no, we're not referring to that. We're referring to real innovators, where they're creating something totally new, no connection with the past. How did they do it? That's what Otto went and interviewed these people to find out. How did they do it? And he crystallized that into what I'm going to share with you. But before that, I'd like a couple more people to interact with me, and then I'll share that with you. So that's great, Brijesh. Thank you very much. Joshua, Brijesh, thanks. Somebody else? What do you see?
Ferdi,
Yeah, Joanne. Is it Joanne or who was it?
Yes, yes, yes. Can
Yeah,
you
yeah,
hear me
Joanne,
well?
go ahead.
Clear?
Yeah, I can, yeah. Go ahead.
What really got me excited about this work when Eldro first introduced it to me is the idea of innovation has always eluded me, because if I really am honest about it, I think 99% of the time my thoughts are the same. No matter how creative I get in terms of the way I express myself or the way I look at things, there's very little original thought. And I've always thought, if more of us could actually, if 5% of the time, if 95% of the time we are just rehashing the same old ideas and thoughts we have in our head, if we could increase the capacity to be innovative by 1%, the world is going to change.
Yeah.
And so that is what I don't really have a question, because I know all my questions is related to how, you know, how can we bridge that consciousness, because so much of what we know, I know, is based on what we know or what we think we know. And so, you know, this whole idea that we're able to co-create from a future that we have no idea what it looks like. And like you said several times already, that COVID really showed us we have no idea what the future is going to look like. And it requires us to not only be comfortable with not knowing, but really get connected with the ability to really sense from the future what needs to be birthed. And you know, in my own life, it's showing up, and I'm really excited about what this work is going to make available. Really,
great.
so it's
Very
really
good.
a comment. There's no question, because I know all my questions are related to how this can be done.
Brilliant, brilliant, Joanne. That's lovely, lovely. Can I have one more person? Your thoughts on what we're doing here?
Anand, would you want to interact?
It's all right. We can move on. But it's nice to have an interaction, because it brings things to life. You know, what Joanne just shared brought a new dimension in, and what Joshua shared and what Bridget shared brings something in, or questions, something you say. So please feel free to really keep interacting and contributing, okay? All right, I'm going to move on to, so now the real question, I think, is for everyone. How, right? Is, as Joanne said, the real question is, how do you do that, right? And that's why he went around and he interviewed these people who had done that. These innovators, these entrepreneurs, these creative leaders, these thought leaders, on how did they make this thing work. And he finally came up with Brian Arthur. Brian Arthur, is that correct? Let me see, hold on a minute. Yeah, okay, yeah. So before that, this was before Brian Arthur. He really saw, or really it was Brian Arthur. He said there are 3 stages that he normally used in his innovation process. And it can be depicted by this U figure. This is a U. Can you see it's a U? It starts from here and then goes to that blue dot and goes up to the right-hand side. It's a U, and it's called simply the U process. Now, this part of the U is, this U process is in 3 stages. So the question is, Joanne, your question, right? How do you actually create from the future as it's emerging, right? So he's recommended a 3-stage process. The first part of the process was going down the U. What do? You observe, observe, observe. But you observe in a way that you've never observed before. There's a depth of observation, a depth of sensing that needs to be developed. And you develop deep listening practices. I'm doing broad brushstrokes here, and then we'll go in, okay? So the first thing is, going down to you, the first stage is observe, observe, observe. Second stage is you retreat and reflect after the observation, either as a group, as a team, as a community, or as an individual. You retreat and reflect. And we give you, if you can have practices that enable you to connect to sources of inspiration, to connect to the deeper sense of yourself, to connect like lots of spiritual notions that we really do know. At a very deep level, we really do know, but we need to connect to that self at a very deep level that actually knows. So practices that enable you to connect to sources of inspiration. So you've observed, you connect to sources of inspiration. And the next thing is you act. Action, take action. But this action is not just about acting. It's really about learning while you're acting. Learning while you're acting. So, let me see. I'll expand this a little further, make it bigger for you. But before we go there, actually I should put this in a different place. Anyway, I'll come back to this slide, okay? But before we go there, this is an expansion of the same you. So you can see the three spaces. The first space is sensing. So what you're training yourself to do is to transform your perception. Learn how to sense, transform perception. Then at the bottom of the you actually, it's called presencing, and you transform self and will, whatever you call yourself, you transform that. And your will, what you're willing to take on, transforming self and will. And the third part of it is realizing. Realizing doesn't mean getting, it means making real. Realizing, make something real. Over here in the second stage, you start to get some ideas of what might be possible, or as Joanne so nicely put it, something that is emerging. Now you want to actualize it. You want to actualize the emergence, make it actual, make it real. And you do that through taking action, but the action is a transforming action, and it's an action, and you'll see we got spaces in each one of these. So let me go into them. So first of all, transforming perception. To transform your perception, you have to first of all suspend something. What do you have to suspend? Your past, opinions, judgments, valuations, evaluation. You have to suspend that. Once you suspend that, then you can see something that you couldn't see when the perceptions, when those past perceptions were there. And so now the second step is to redirect your attention. Redirect your attention to different places, to outlying, what they call the outliers, to outlying areas. Mostly, we are focused on the central part of everything. You actually learn how to sense at the periphery, sense at the edges of something. So that's the redirecting your attention to the edges. Then there are two paths to transforming yourself and your will. First of all, letting go. Letting go of who you think you are, letting go of what you know, letting go of what you believe in, letting go. And fourth aspect is let come. Because as long as you've got, see, I'm holding this pen in my hand. As long as I'm holding this pen in my hand, nothing else can be in my hand. But if I let go, then I can get something else. I can let come something else. So you let come. And then in the action part, transforming action part, there are three steps. One is crystallizing, like when salt water is crystallized into salt by leaving it overnight, crystallizing, so it gets sharper and clearer. And once you crystallize, what is your intention? What are you committed to? Where do you want to go? Then you start prototyping, create a prototype of the world as you see it, what you want to do. And this prototype is not the final piece. It's a piece for learning. It's a piece for making mistakes on. So you prototype in a way that you make mistakes. And from the mistakes you learn. And then you put something else in there. Then you learn. You put something else in there. Then you learn. So you keep prototyping until it's a really workable piece. And then the question is, you want to take it to scale. To large scale. It's called institutionalizing. How do you institutionalize? So the U theory deals with all of it. First of all, sensing the world as it is now by suspending and redirecting and looking at the periphery and the outer edges. Then letting go of self, letting go of who we think we are and all that stuff. All our past stuff which we built up about ourselves and our opinions and all that. letting go, and letting come the new self that we want, the new person we want to be, the new future that's wanting us. And then crystallizing, prototyping, institutionalizing. So we say there are three spaces. The first space is sensing, second space is presencing, third space is realizing, and there are 7 capacities to be developed: the capacity to suspend, the capacity to redirect, the capacity to let go, the capacity to let come, to crystallize, to prototype, and to institutionalize. So these are and as you can see, the source is Peter Senge, Otto Schama, Jaworski, and Flowers, okay? So once again, I'm going to stop. So what are you getting? What questions do you have? What inputs or insights are you getting? What's opening up for you? So let's hear from you. I'm going to stop this and I can put it up again if anybody wants it, okay? I just want to see everyone. Okay. Questions, comments, how abouts, what ifs? Let's hear you.
Yeah, Ferdi, hi, this is RV. I have a question.
Arvi, good to see you. Yeah.
Good to see you too, Ferdi. So I think Aljor mentioned last night when he was talking about, this event that, in a previous education that I think Aljor and I and most of us have been a part of, it was a matter of inventing something from nothing.
Right.
And now it's presencing what wants to emerge.
Yes. Very good
And
distinction, Arvi. Very important distinction.
and actually it's from Aljor, so I can't take credit for it, Ferdi. But I wanted to ask now, what can I rely on to make that jump so that I can begin to presence, to sense what wants to emerge?
I think you've kind of made your question a little more complicated than it needs to be, RV. Can you ask it again?
Okay.
And I'll see if I can simplify it.
I guess coming from that education where we've been taught to just invent and invent,
And
how
put
do
it
we
out there, right?
now, yes, how do we now begin to shift our energy into sensing what wants to emerge?
Okay, I got it. Actually, if you cut out the first part coming from that education, you did. Some of the people here haven't come from that education. It doesn't matter. You just for a moment suspend it. It's useful, can be useful for some other things, but for now, just suspend it. And now the question really becomes, how do you sense the future that's wanting to emerge? That's more important. You don't have to bring in that aspect of whatever we used to do in the past. We're just doing something else. Am I making sense, Arvi? Yeah.
Yes,
Arvi,
Ferdi.
can you just move your screen just a little bit? Because right now all I'm seeing are your eyes.
Okay, I need about 30 seconds, Ferdi. I just have to adjust something.
Okay, it's all right. No, just leave it for now. It's all right. Uh, so the question Arvi is asking, right, is really, I think what's more important is how do you sense the future that's wanting to emerge? That's the important thing. It doesn't matter from where you came, here you are now, and you want to sense the future that's wanting to emerge. How do you do that, right? So, can I ask you to contribute a bit? What do you think? How should we do that? If we want to sense the future that's wanting to emerge, how should we do that? Anybody? Arvi, I can start with you since you are now fully visible. Any ideas how you could do that? And don't bring in that old stuff, just coming fresh. You're on mute if you're speaking.
You're muted, RV, if you're speaking.
Oh, sorry. Actually,
Now you're being
looking at the diagram that you showed us, Ferdi, I think the things that I'm picking up are, letting come,
right.
letting come after I have done redirecting. So meaning instead of looking just to me, I talk to other people.
Very
And
good.
once I've talked to people and listened to them, then whatever it is that's emerging from the conversations, that is what's going to guide the creation rather than my own ego, just saying, okay, here's what I want, but there's something else that the bigger group wants.
Well said. Well said. Well said. See, this portion here and this thing here is very important for sensing the future. You first need to have transformed your perception. Otherwise, you're not going to see the future that's wanting to emerge. You need to transform it. And in the work that we do, we give people tools. We give people tools to get connected to other people. And as you also rightly pointed out, it's a function of, you can't do it within just your own mind. You're going to have to take a collective. You're going to have to take a group of people and kind of, because diversity is so important. Each person thinks differently, looks at things differently. So you kind of open yourself to being related to other people in a way that you can actually hear, see, sense, feel what they want to say, and you got the room for them to say it, even if you don't agree with them, so that you're starting to get more varied views and thoughts and ideas of what to do, right? And then I think you hit the nail so on the head. You really got to be able to be with a blank screen, a nothingness, and be with it and watch as something wants to come in, wants to emerge. One of the metaphors we have is whenever you are going full speed ahead and things are really working, don't you have the experience of hitting a brick wall? Suddenly you can't move forward. There's a brick wall in front of you. When there's a brick wall in front of you and you can't move forward anymore, that may be the greatest gift that you could have received from the universe. Because if you can stand in front of that brick wall and look for the crack, there is always a crack. And the future starts to come through that crack. But if our perceptions have not been transformed, then we are not going to see that crack. If our self has not been transformed, the fear, the voice of fear of the unknown, the unwillingness to let go, and the willingness to let come is not there, we won't be able to see the crack. We won't be able to see what is wanting to emerge. And if when we see what's wanting to emerge, what we want to then do is see whether it matches with whatever we want to emerge from inside ourselves, but not we, the ordinary ego self, but the pure self that's connected to everything wants to see observing, emerging. And when that connect is there, it's like a bolt of lightning. It's like electricity, electric shock. Ah, this is what I want to do. And then, of course, you go up the realizing pathway. Is that making sense, Harvey? Okay. And I
Thank
know
you,
that
Ferdi.
you've done the program with us, so in a sense, this is easier for you. Let me see how it lands with everybody else, okay? So, what did you get out of that dialogue I had with Harvey?
Is it the fear of failure is also stopping us from?
Yes, very much so. Fear of failure is one big deal. But more than the fear of failure is a fear of existence. See, there is a way we exist. See, I grew up in India. I lived in India. I lived in a one bedroom kitchen place, 7 children, all of us, we all slept together, all the rest of it. Then I went to America just to study something, just for 2 years. And everything was different. Everything was nicer, but I didn't like it. Why did I not like it? I didn't feel at home. There was something missing. That kind of fear, that, you know, it's actually very strangely, it's a fear of being uncomfortable. The comfort for me was in the space that I grew up in the way I was. When I went into this other space, more wide open, more spacey, it was not comfortable. So we are not willing to let come the future, allow ourselves to transform, because somehow or the other we won't know how to be. I knew how to be in the cramped condition I was in. I knew how to be in the situation I was in. I didn't know how to be in this other situation, never grown up in it. I don't know anything about it. And it's worrying, it's fearful. I'm going to make mistakes. So is that making sense, Kamesh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not just failure. Failure is one, and it's very, very poignant, but it's really wider than that. It's a kind of discomfort of not knowing and not the unfamiliar. You know, familiarity is such a big danger for us. We love familiarity, but it's also a big danger. It stops us from taking risks, stops us from trying something new. Okay, great. Very good, Kamesh. Somebody else? Anything out of that
Can I jump
dialogue?
in? Hi.
Yeah, go ahead, Joanne.
If I could just tag on what Avi mentioned just now, a couple of things. For me, when I listen to what Ferdi you're creating, I had originally the same question that Avi mentioned at the beginning. How do you reconcile between the two different, seemingly different approaches from
Right.
previous education and this?
Yes.
And actually, when I was looking at the U, the way I look at it, it struck me as the left part of the U, where we have suspending, redirecting, and letting go. It pretty much brings us to nothing. To me, it brings us to nothing.
It does.
It's almost like creating from nothing requires us to suspend, to redirect, and to let go of whatever it is that it is holding me in a particular place anyway. But what is powerful for me is we now have a way through this process that we can now actually look into the future and let the future impact me, as opposed to literally, I always used to struggle with the idea of creating from nothing. It just doesn't make sense to me, and I tried what I for 10 years, over 10 years now, I've been using that technology, so I know what it feels like. But this process feels to me so much more, what is the word, natural. It's more, it's
organic.
Kind of flows.
It's organic.
Yes, perfect word. It's so organic, because when I step outside of myself, when I really just stop looking at what this ego wants, what Joanne wants, and I start to talk to people outside of me, whether I'm getting coaching from Aljor or sharing something I'm stuck at with my friends, and people start to contribute to me, and I'm hearing all that, I start to really sense something different is now possible. Right? So to me, that's, to answer the very first question you asked, Ferdi, about how we might see ourselves moving from letting go to letting come, for me, it's a matter of, bringing us to a point where I really open myself up to other people contributing to me, and accepting that I don't have all the answers. And actually, there's a lot more out there that I can benefit.
Brilliant,
So
Joanne. Brilliant.
That's what's coming to me. It's a more organic way of looking at it. There is so much wisdom, that is beyond me. That's how I look at it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's so lovely. That's so brilliant. See, listen, I want to bring in one more, what in the old education we used to call distinction. We can call it a principle over here, which is the principle of ego versus eco. So if you take ego, we know ego basically means boundary. So Joanne, you were speaking about that just now, that at some point when you let go of yourself, that which is the ego, you let go of it, you start to see that it's possible for you literally to be anything. And that's eco. Eco is a Greek word, and it really, strangely, it means family. Economy meant the way to manage the finances of the whole family, not just your own individual person's finances. And eco means the whole. So when we are talking about shifting from ego to eco, one of the principles that is fundamental in the work that we do is that when you're running your business, then you're thinking of, okay, how do I make money? How do I become successful? And then if you're a good employer, then you say, how do my stakeholders become successful? How do the place where my company is operating actually become successful and work? So it's a good thing to do, right? But nobody is thinking, what impact does my business have on the world? The whole world, positive or negative? How does it impact the whole world? And can I actually be successful as a business person in my business by operating from eco rather than from ego? Because the way things are set up and what we understand about business and how we should do it and everything else is ego is what works. You know, once upon a time they said what a business has to do, it has to grow the wealth of the owners of the business. That wasn't understood by this big federation of owners of businesses in the US. Just last July, they changed that. They changed that to say, that's not what we should be doing. We should be looking at what we call eco, looking at how it impacts the whole world. Because almost everything we do has an impact on the rest of the world. So if you're driving your car and there's a guy at the back behind you riding his bicycle, he is eating your pollution. Now, the price of your petrol doesn't include the cost of the medical expenses for him because of the damage done to him out of eating your fuels. So that would be eco. That would be looking from eco called, oh, the fuel would be so expensive, I wouldn't be able to afford it. Maybe I should walk. Maybe I should something else. I'm not saying this can be sorted out at an individual level. But if as a community, as groups of people, we actually started to get more conscious of it, it can be sorted out. And it will be sorted out. That's the new future that's beckoning. So that principle, ego versus eco, and when you apply eco to reaching that point and coming through the bottom of the U, Joanne, when you go to the other side and you start listening for what is the world calling me to be? What is the world calling me to? There's this recent book that's going around called Ikigai. Have you heard of it? Ikigai, right, you should read it, it's great stuff. Basically, it's saying, what is it I am really good at? Secondly, what do I love to do? And a half Ikigai is you actually focus on what you're good at and what you love to do. But the full Ikigai is, how do I contribute to others? How do I contribute what I'm good at and what I love to do to others? And how does that come back to me? Like a boomerang, how does it come back to me? It's a way of thinking, a way of looking. But anyway, sorry, long answer to a response to what you said, Joanne, but that's so great.
Ferdi, just to pick up on what you said on that book, is that a Japanese word, ikigai?
Yes, it is. Is the same place from which karate came. It's not really Japanese, but now I think it belongs to Japan, right? Yeah. I forget the name of the island. Comes from that island.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so beautiful the way you said it. I love the idea that when we look at or at least this is what I got, when we look at the world that I want to create, you know, like if I ask myself, what is the ideal world that I like to see? I may have a certain vision based on what I know now, but it is the world that I like to see. And then it reaches back at me and go, who do I need to be for that to happen? I mean, that's what I got. Is that
okay.
Is that what it is?
It's not bad. It's not bad. It just says it just gives you an access to action, and the action is called find out what you're good at and do that. Find out what you love to do and do that, and find out how what you're good at and love to do contributes to others and contribute, and then it'll contribute back to you. Now you don't contribute because it'll contribute back to you, but it does.
Of course. Yeah. Change the world and in the process be transformed.
Yeah. Well, great. Thank you, Joanne. Somebody else? Praveen, Bridges, quite a few of you haven't turned your videos on, okay? We want to see your handsome, beautiful faces, guys. There you are. You're getting some. All right, anything from anybody else? No? Okay, so then let me talk about the blind spot of leadership. Okay, let me talk about leadership and the blind spot of leadership, because our basic program is called Leadership from the Emerging Future. So most of the time when we are working and we are interested in results, aren't we? So we all work on getting results. And how do you get results? By taking actions. You get results by taking actions, right? And so then you look for the process. You do this first, then you do that, then you do the second, third thing, and you get the results. And everybody wants to know how. That's the how you produce the results. First is the what do you want? You want the results. Second is how do you produce the results, right? And third is, so if you remember this book, How Do You Win Friends and Influence People, age-old book, right? It told you how to do it, how to win friends and influence people. Except that when you do that, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. So then the question becomes, what's it that makes it work sometimes, and what's it that makes it not work some other time? And that's what we call the blind spot of leadership. In the old education, they used to call it the be, who you are being. I'm going to give you an easier access to the whole thing, really very easy access to that aspect of it. And I'm going to start by, first of all, sharing my screen with you. And I told you, yes. So this one, right? This is Brian Arthur. He says, the success of the intervention depends on the interior condition of the intervener. You could say the success of the leader depends on the interior condition of the leader. You could say your success depends upon your interior condition. So it's not what you do, it's not how you do it, although those things are important. If you got a great interior condition, but you don't do it right, it won't work either. You have to do it right. But if you do it right, but the interior condition is all messed up, it won't work either. So the question becomes, what is this interior condition that he is talking about, okay? And here you are. So now let's look at the interior condition, right? So first of all, if you look at yourself and you look at other people, you will see that this is where we are. If we want to go down to you, even if we don't want to go down to you, this is where we find ourselves being. Where we find ourselves being is downloading past patterns. So beliefs, what we know, our understanding. So we are downloading past patterns. That's what's happening. So if you want to alter your interior condition, you have to realize that what you're doing is downloading. I'll give you an analogy. Imagine you're in a circular room. It's round. And it's got windows all around it. And there are screens on the windows, so you can't see out. And in the middle of the room, there is a 360-degree video projector. And it's projecting stuff on those screens. And what it is projecting is stuff from your life, from your past. Your friends, your family, who they are, how they are, what do they do, how do they do it. You know, all that is there. And that's what we call downloading. You find yourself downloading. This is where you are. So what's the first thing you'll have to do? And the clue is right there. It's on the screen. What's the first thing you'll have to do? Anybody? It's easy. Not easy to do, but easy to say. Yeah?
Suspending.
Suspend. Suspend what?
Judgment.
Yeah, you're downloading.
Suspend
Suspend your downloading. Suspend your past patterns. Like park the car. Call your downloading. Park it. Get out of the car. Suspend your downloading and start seeing with fresh eyes. Well, right now, you're listening to this introduction and there is downloading going on. Yeah, I agree with that. No, what's he talking about? You know, that downloading is going on. And there is, you are looking at your beliefs, what you know from the past and all that. If you can, open your mind and suspend your downloading. You'll start to see with fresh eyes. Even though we're not doing the course right now, I'm just telling you about it. Even now, you might be able to experiment with it. Suspend something and see if you can see with fresh eyes. See if you can see with an open mind. So that's the first step, which is like going in that room, you go down to one of the windows and you draw the curtain and you look outside. So now you're seeing something new, aren't you? And you're seeing from your eyes, through your eyes, you're seeing something completely new because you've suspended your downloading and you're starting to see with fresh eyes. Now, the next step is open the door to the room. Before you do that, you know, pull up all the curtains so you can see completely all around 360, right? Then you open the door and you go outside. And your colleague or your stakeholder is standing out there, right? You walk up to where they are and you turn around, stand in their shoes, turn around and look into the room. And imagine you're still in the room. Your spirit walked out there and now you're standing there and looking through their eyes at yourself, doing whatever you're doing in your universe, in your own world. That is what we call redirecting or sensing from the field. Now, you're not seeing with your eyes, you're seeing with their eyes. You're not seeing from here, you're seeing from there, and you're seeing yourself from there. You're seeing yourself the way they see you, the way your wife sees you, the way your children see you, the way your boss sees you, the way your colleagues see you, the way your enemies see you. You're seeing that. Obviously, you have to have an open mind, otherwise you won't be able to see it. But if you have an open mind, the next step is to open your heart and start to see it from your stakeholders' perspective. see it from their eyes, and look at yourself through their eyes. That's the important thing. Not just you look through their eyes and see their world, which is good, but you look through their eyes to see you, to see how you are for them. So that's the second step of what he calls altering the interior condition of the intervener. So imagine a leader wanting to cause transformation in his organization. He's got to suspend his past patterns. She's got to suspend what she knows. Then she's got to walk around and see with fresh eyes, open her mind. Then she's got to put herself in a stakeholder's shoes and see what they see about how the company operates, how the management operates, how life operates, start to see, sense from the feel, and see it that way. So that's the second one. And the last one is open will. You got to let go of your who you are, who you think of yourself, and what you are. Let go of that and open your will and let come the future. And then if you're the leader causing that transformation, you'll do the rest of the stuff and go up to you. But this is altering the interior condition of the intervener. So I think we're talking about the blind spot of leadership. The blind spot of leadership is we don't look at, is our mind closed? How is our mind closed? Is our heart open? How is our heart closed? Is our will open? Otherwise, you're not going to be able to cause this, right? So that's what he meant when he said, the success of the intervention depends on the interior condition of the intervener. Okay, I'm now once again going to open it up for people to share or ask questions or how about so whatever else. So anything for anyone?
Those who are the videos off, they can also you can also put your audio on and speak, right? And if possible, you should of course get your video on.
Yeah, good. So I'm just going to be quiet for a bit and give you an opportunity to gather your thoughts and speak, okay? Whoever, you don't have to be selected. So what do you think about what I said? Does it make sense? Do you see something for yourself in it? Does it not make sense at all? Are you completely put off by what I said, or you have a question about it? Please, any one of those. No?
Ferdi, maybe just a reaction.
Sure, Ari.
Because initially when I thought, listening to other people, I was merely thinking from the point of view of what other people are already doing, like market research. No one sells a product without doing market research.
Mm-hmm.
But the more I listen to you, the more I realize that there's something more profound in that. Because if I look at even spiritual traditions, they talk about, embracing the collective and looking at other aspects that maybe from my religion are not acceptable. And I see that if everyone learned how to do this, they could really transcend a lot of mental barriers that they have that's keeping them stuck.
Great, Ari. Very good, thank you. Someone else, do you see that this could be applicable to you, that could be useful for you? You might find that if you engage in this, maybe you'll get something. Anything for anyone? Well, if you don't say anything, then no one will say anything, and we won't be talking. Okay, so you do need to talk. Somebody needs to jump in. Not that if we're forcing you to, but we need interaction, engagement. Uh, yeah, Venkatraman.
Yes, yes, Ferdi. So what I got out of my interaction till now is that the program is leadership from the emerging future, and
Yes.
when we are interested in what we are interested in is the result, and we get it by taking actions. And the second step is how do we move towards what result do we want to cause, and how do we cause that. And the next aspect discussed was the blind spot of leadership, which is called the being. Then I'm just recreating this. The next what you did was about the brain author's quote of the success of the intervention depends on the interior condition of the intervener. So it depends on where we are and about our internal condition for getting the desired output or result is what I understood.
Yeah, that's great, Venkatraman. I think I didn't put the question properly to you guys. The question I put was, after listening to this, what are the areas you see that you can develop yourself in, or you would like to develop yourself in?
So yes, can I answer that?
Yes, please.
Right. So the area that I would like to develop is uh, develop listening.
Mhm.
Um, I like my wife, but when she starts talking, I get irritated. I don't want that to continue, or at least
That's it.
the art of pretending I want to learn.
You don't have to learn the art of pretending. You can actually listen. That's
Okay.
very good. Well said. It's a problem with husbands and wives. I'm
Yes.
sure your wife wants to also learn to listen to you, although
Yes.
she might not admit it as willingly as you're willing to admit it. But that's good. That's good. That's an area of development. Very good. Any other area you see you could develop
And
yourself?
the other area is to develop my ability to understand the subject in which I am. Although it is not within the sphere of academic learning, I don't know the scope of this, what you're dealing with. But I want to be more clear in giving answers to my clients. I'm an advocate by profession.
Aha, right, right.
So, and I feel delivering in court is easy, but understanding from the client and giving them that this is the answer is one area where I'm clearly lacking.
Very good. Very good. Very, very good. And also, I would suggest not just giving them an answer, but also telling them what might be possible.
Yes.
This might be possible. That might be possible. And then leaving them with a choice to choose which directions they want to go. I'm speaking about you as an advocate. Great.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Very good. Venkatraman, I appreciate you stepping in the breach that way. That's great. Thank you. Somebody
Thank you.
else? Yeah. Yes, Basava?
I feel interior condition of me is very, very, very important because I have to have pure art to serve the society, to have the impact. As you said, the Federation of US has changed from ego profits of self to the impact it creates on the society. Similarly, we are in the web of life where we get lot from the environment and prakriti. So we need to give back so that then this suspending, let go, redirecting, they are all very, very important, and totally performance from the whole that comes into the execution that is needed to execute. So open heart and open mind, open will are very much needed. For that, interior condition is the base, I feel.
Very good.
So
Very good.
all thoughts are coming from our interior conditioning only. Thoughts
Very
create
good.
actions, and actions that is right actions which will help all the beings, all the web of life. That I feel very strongly.
Very good.
Interior condition.
Very good. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. I'll get back to you in a second, Basava. Okay. Abdul Kadir, you wanted to say something? Go ahead. Are you speaking? I think I can't hear anything. Can you pull out the thing from your machine and speak? Maybe you'll be heard better.
Abdul, you may remove the earphone and try.
Now it is clear.
Yeah.
Now it is clear. Now it is clear.
That's better.
Now it is clear.
Yeah, I think it was a hand-free issue that was.
Yes.
Actually, today's leadership skills topic, and I want to talk about these skills that we have many kind of, let's suppose, types that when we are discussing, likewise. Likewise, positive and authoritative skills and coaching, affiliative, persisting democratic issues. We all face some many kind of issues that makes our problems so difficult. So when we try to go through into our colleagues and in different kinds of organizations, we face many of problems like these of leaderships. So how do we know that when we try to speak about leadership skills, and how we get clear our leadership skills, and how we get our own leadership skills in a persistently way?
Some of the sound was going in and out, so I may have missed something. But I think Manoj, did you hear what he meant? What he said?
Yeah. So what I heard is that there's a whole world of challenges in terms of the getting people like I think in term there's a whole world of challenges, including what I heard is the democracy issues and communication issues and dealing with people, right? And then there is also the world of leadership skills and what kind of leadership skills we need to develop to face these circumstances. Is that something that you're saying, Abdul, or you would like to say it again?
The last thing I wasn't clear about, what leadership skills.
I think it will be better that
I want something, but there were something issues into my speaker, so I cannot talk right.
Yeah, can you say it again now?
Yeah, now it is enough for now, and I'm thinking about later that I will talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can, if you put it on the chat, then we'll be able to pick it up. Okay.
Yeah.
Putting it on chat.
Yeah, put it on chat.
I'll read it out for you. Yeah.
Respond to you then. Great.
Thanks.
Someone else? So one thing is, would you like to hear what some of the people have gotten out of participating in this course? Would you like to hear that, guys? You have to say yes or no. Yeah, so Kamesh.
Sure.
Good. So if anybody who'd like to share what you got out of participating in the leadership from the Emerging Future program. Anyone of you who have done it? So
Aljor.
Hi guys. Hi Ferdi.
Hi Aljor.
So one thing that I got that was very powerful for me is I've always really related to leadership as me and the field that I'm working on. So as two separate things. And I always had to think, I have to be a bigger person to deal with this field that I'm working on. And with this education, there's no separation. When I let go of who I am, everything I know, and all my past, then I become the field. So then I have a bigger capacity to make an impact, because now there's no me versus the field that I'm working on. I'm in the midst of it. So there's a lot more ease in making a difference. There's no forcing something. It's really just listening, being there, looking for what's emerging, and empowering what's emerging. So that's one of the biggest things that I got.
So what I'm hearing, Aljor, is that you're finding that there is no separation between you and what you call the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's one, and you're able to draw from the field, and so that you're not stuck with being inside your little shell.
Correct.
Okay, great.
There's a lot more ease that way, and connection, and being connected to the field that you're at work on. So it's great.
Very good. Chaitanya, you want to go? Yeah, put your microphone on, Chaitanya.
Yeah, one of the major things for me is in the past, before I did the program, I always have an idea in terms of what I want to do, and I try to come up with a strategy to make it work, or I find connections and and try to do a project. But what this course has opened up for me is the whole new process where you develop the way you listen to people, and also the way you listen to your own self, which is your voice of cynicism and your voice of judgment and fear. And it's enabled me to connect to the universe, and it's opened up a couple of very interesting opportunities, which means I'm actually sensing the future as it's emerging, and as a result of which I'm actually creating a very interesting project. So that is the main difference for me, and the main not difference. That's the main benefit which I've got from the program, in also clarifying my vision and purpose as well.
That's very good. Great. Thank you very much. And anybody has any question for Chaitanya about what he said, or Aljor about what he said, you're welcome to ask, okay? All right, somebody else? Anything for you, Arvi, you'd like to share with us?
Actually, Ferdi, this is the first time I've actually thought about that, about your question. But one thing that I was able to make was, because I work as a coach for individuals.
Right.
But after hearing about, the intelligence of the group and the collective intelligence, I was able to make a transition to a team coach, and where I talked to maybe about 8 people at the time to find out what each would have in mind. Another thing that I suppose it came out of this is because in the past, like I would usually quit my job whenever things did not go my way. But after this, I realized that in order for me to be really successful in my job, I have to find out what the stakeholders needed. And that's what I needed to give them rather than what I simply had in my, like up my sleeves.
Very good. Very good. And that is very important for all of us. For example, it's very important for salespeople. Salespeople are more interested in what's my product, let me sell it. We're not listening to what the client is saying. Or as a consultant, we walk in there and we see something happening and we know what should be done and what the solution is. We just want to apply it without really examining what is going on, what does the client need, what are they struggling with, that kind of thing. Very good. Great. Someone else, and Rajiv or Kamesh, if you have any questions with regard to how would you got a challenge, how would you deal with your challenge from this, that'll be great. So we can get some practical examples rather than just theoretical knowledge. And Manoj, you've had a chance to read Abdul Qadir's thing. And if you want to respond to it when you're ready, just let me know.
Yeah,
you ready now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. And I am co-faculty with Ferdi in leading the course, the Leadership from the Emerging Future. Is my audio clear?
Yeah, very clear.
Okay, great. So, Abdul, I think you brought up a list of challenges, and they're all valid. And those of I think all of you can read. So, it's talking about increasing effectiveness, inspiring others, developing employees, and leading a team, guiding change, and managing the stakeholders. So, if you look at it, it's like you're talking about a whole host of things, a lot of things here. Key principles that I would pick from this course, which I would start with, is what Ferdi mentioned earlier. First principle would be ego to eco. Okay, and what I mean here is it's again multiple dimensions, but consider that the old model of leadership was about individuals being leaders and individuals providing leadership. And here, so then when you look at, oh, I am a leader and I need to provide leadership to the team, then there's a whole different world that gets created, which is what I hear in what you're saying. Then you have to look at, how do I develop employees, how do I inspire them, and that whole world. But if it was not the individual as a leader, but if you were to look at the collective, the team, the as a leader, right? And if you were to tap in the intelligence of the collective, you will find that the whole paradigm shifts, the whole equation shifts. And we do work with corporates, and as we do go ahead in the workshops, the first workshop people understand and participate and all that stuff, and by the time we are in the second workshop, people see, oh my god, I didn't realize my team was so intelligent. Oh, I didn't realize my team was could actually see things differently. Like recently, one of the MDs of a company was saying, till now, I used to think my team can deal with this much and they can deal with this way. So when I would talk to them, I would kind of dilute the conversation in some way. I would kind of scale it down to what I thought they can handle. What I'm realizing is, oh, maybe they can deal with it. It's just so there is a way you see them, right? And there is a way they see themselves, and there is a way you see the situation, right? So before I go connect it to ego to eco, I'll connect it to what Ferdi also mentioned earlier, is transforming perception. So the whole game of leadership, right, you're looking at is inside of the world of perception. So we have perceptions about other people, we have perceptions about ourselves, we have perceptions about the situations and challenges, we have perceptions of about our roles. So when you start questioning those perceptions and using the tools that we have in the course, start creating a whole new world of perception. You might discover new power in the team. You might discover new capabilities in the team, and capabilities and power that maybe even they were not aware of. Not only you were not aware of, even they were not aware of. Like those will emerge. So that's one dimension that I would say, right? So who the team is for you, how you see the team, that would alter. How the team sees themselves would alter. How you see the challenges can alter, right? So that's one dimension. I think that's I think let's stay with that. So Abdul, uh, you have a perception about your team, right? And you have a perception about the situations and the challenges, and you have a perception of the stakeholders. And like all your thoughts, all your actions, all your decisions are shaped by those perceptions. What if those perceptions alter? What if you discover people newly? What if you saw the same challenges, same situations from a new perspective? So I think that that would be one step in the whole game. Okay, do you understand that, Abdul? And this is also for everybody. So I'm not only responding to Abdul, but I'm hoping to create a context for everybody else. So Rajiv, Kamlesh, Joanne, you feel free to jump in and ask your question if you need to.
I would like to reflect a small incident, though it may look silly, it's a personal experience.
Yeah,
Is
go
it
ahead.
okay with you all?
Yeah, Dr. Yeah, Kamesh,
Please go ahead.
Yeah. I have only one daughter, and she was 6 to 7 years old. And the relationship was father and daughter, as usual. And I'm being the head of the family. She has to listen to me, and she used to listen to me. One day it so happened that the school called her for a quiz program on a Sunday. So I took her to the school, and the school principal also said, "Sir, having come, please sit in the audience or wherever you want." That is the first time I have seen my daughter very active than what she used to be in the house.
Yeah.
Very active. I mean, I never realized that she is active, she is agile, and she could be able to lead a team of 2-3 other schoolmates. And the whole perception about my daughter changed that very moment, and my interaction with her was at a different platform after coming back. After this understanding, I go back to my job in HUL, where I had a team of sales team people. Now I realized that even new guy who joined just 10 days back also has a valuable contribution to the team. Otherwise, this open mind, open heart, open will, the ego part of our being a leader or whatever it is, used to always block those people. But this learning has actually opened up, and it carried throughout my career.
Very good.
Excellent. Excellent.
Very good. Excellent. Kamesh, thank you very much. Okay. Somebody else? Questions?
Abdul, anything else for you on this? And Joanne, is it making sense for you?
Yes, yes, it is. I'm just letting it sink in.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. I'd like to hear from some of the others who I can't see at all. Jyoti Pradhan,
Kunal,
Fireflies, Note Taker, Ranganatha Gowda, anything. Let's have you on the screen at least so we can see you. Mamta Trivedi, Nandish Desai, Kunal Shah, one, Himanshu Aval, right? Yeah, Kunal, anything for you? Anything you're getting? Any questions you have? You got to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, Kunal.
I just joined late because of some meeting going on. So I just joined
Right.
2 minutes back.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I understand. No problem. Don't worry, Kunal. It's all right.
I
We understand.
will
No
not
problem.
be able to contribute much.
No, I
Yeah.
understand. Totally all
Yeah.
right. Totally all right. Okay. Somebody else? So anything for you, Rajiv? Venkatraman has already contributed. Yes. I see you on the screen. Can you unmute so we can hear you? Mamta.
Hello.
Hi, Mamta. Hi, Mamta.
Completed my curriculum in 2005 with Ferdi. And since then, let me tell you, my name is Mamta Trivedi, and I am Ayurvedic physician practicing since last 35 years.
Mm-hmm.
And from the day first, I used to always say that my three principles or USP is prevention is better than cure, treating body as a whole, not the symptoms. And the third thing is creating leaders in the field of health and fitness. So
yes.
The patient, when they used to come to me, I used to always tell that you are responsible for your own health and fitness. So you have to be 100% participating in what I'm saying. you know. And that's where I always say that you have to become your own doctor. And that's the thing what is they are understanding it now in this coronavirus situation, you know, COVID-19. And what I feel, what you said just now today, it's all about what you do, what you love, and then what you're contributing in the world, and then what you're getting back again. So that's where I feel that I'm so lucky what distinctions you are creating it now. It's there in my life. And during this, even the, you know, and I want to be still, Ferdi, I am open that you can support me to create further my leadership and in my profession in health and fitness, what I can, you know, what I can really provide or what I can give it to the society, so that, you know, I get that satisfaction. I mean, and that satisfaction remains with me ongoingly.
That's wonderful, Mamta. And who introduced you to this program?
One of my friends, actually, he's Rahul Patil, and he was not able to actually, he was with me in 2005-6 in a leadership, we were assisting together, and he said, Mamta, Ferdi is there. So I said, yes, whether you make it or no, I am going to be there.
So you came to see me. All right, that's good. It's good to see you, Mamta. And I'd be happy, I'd love to have you participate in the next program. Very good, thank you.
And I want to share one more thing that I have in this COVID situation, I was listening to people, job losing, underemployment, no payment, even Air India people coming to me and they're saying they're not getting the salary. So that's where I realized that I am also, you know, with a company called Indus Viva Health Science Private Limited, and that's a direct selling company. You know, previously people used to see, but I know that's one of the best company, and it's been 6 years. They are there in the market, and they are going to come in the equity also. But all 5 products which they are giving it to the community, they are mind blowing, and I was using them since last 6 years because they are advanced Ayurvedic products. You know, the science beyond. I mean, you can say these Ayurvedic people, no, they used to not do really a scientific work. And that is the reason why I had chosen a subject called natural hygiene, one of the subjects of Ayurveda, Swastha. So I was just filling the gap of where they are and where they want to reach. Through a tropology. Tropology is food science. And that is what we call it a lifestyle disorder. You know, and we all are facing today with the lifestyle. So,
great, Mamta, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
really great, thank you. All right, somebody else. So let me hear from people.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, Joanne.
So I've got. Yeah. Okay. Right. One question. So from ego to eco. So if I may be so blunt, you know, most of us at this time of human race, we are operating on ego perspective.
Right.
So while I absolutely am, you know, I think the theory really works great. Could you share a little bit about in your work of applying the knowledge, this body of work in the real world, having worked with companies, what would make the transformation accessible for more people, moving from ego to ego?
Great. I'm going to leave that question to Manoj. Go ahead, Manoj.
Yeah. Sorry, Joanne, can you say it again? Because I thought you're asking a particular question, but by the time you ended it, it looked like a different question. So I want to make sure that I get your question correct. Okay?
Yeah, right. So to put it bluntly, right now, most of us, myself included, are operating from ego.
Yeah.
So based on your actual working with this body of knowledge in the real world, what needs to happen? What are the conditions that need to exist for the transformation from ego to eco to actually be possible. Because what I'm saying is that there's so much resistance. I expect anyway, resistance. But from your actual application of this work, what have you seen that actually makes it possible?
Okay.
Thank you.
So, great. So I can respond from how we are applying it and how it is making a difference and how it's opening the space for us. Okay. Right now, offhand, that's what I can see. Okay. And so what it has allowed us to be, I think when we started looking from eco and looking from how we can make the biggest difference, in some way it has allowed us allowed the space to be generous, right? Like for example, when we are working with companies and when we are we are able to give like 100 like 10 times more value for them and than they would expect, and like really be there for them and uh, support them in many ways which was beyond the contract, beyond the space, because we see that that's what is needed and wanted there, right? So in many ways I think what's has given us is one is being generous, second is being able to see the world from their eyes, other people's eyes, and uh, create space for different people, different thinking, their upsets, their expectations. And when we are able to hold that space, we find many people, they also open up and then they also open their heart. So one way to say that is we are able to open our heart, and then inside of that we find many other people are able to open a heart, and we are able to create certain very fulfilling relationships. Okay. And those fulfilling relationships are also sometimes get into a kind of partnerships and collaborations, which then you can kind of build further and further, right? So, for example, some of our participants of the course, they are now kind of joined us, and they have become our partners in expanding the reach of this technology to more people. Like Aljor himself, he is of course our friend, but he participated in the course, and he found that, oh, this is something that really needs to go out in the world. So Ferdi stepped in and led a program for Aljor and his team in Philippines. I went to Philippines, and Aljor and I worked together with some clients in Thailand. And what I can see is that when we are not worried about ourselves, when we kind of somewhere know that when we take care of people, it will come back. Like what Ferdi was saying. Um, Whatever we are good at, we are just giving it out full out to the world, right? Open our heart and give it out, right? And some way it starts to create new realities, new spaces. So my own experience has been this, there is a different kind of peace of mind because I'm not really worried from uh, how things will happen. I just am looking at whom can I serve and how can we serve, and then we are together also doing the same thing. We're more oriented around how can we contribute and serve, and when we are oriented from that place of eco, it's also easier for people to collaborate. So just right now on the screen, you can see Alger was here and Chaitanya is from UK. He's participated in a course. He's also now collaborating with us. He's not just collaborating because we're doing some good program, but he can see that this, if we can make it out available in the world, that would make a difference, right? So, okay, what I'm also trying to say is when you're operating from eco principles, it's easier for people to collaborate with you. It's much broader than I will the transactional world where, okay, you give me 5, I give you 5 or something like that, right? Am I making any sense to you, Joanne?
Yes, yes, you are. Yes.
John, I want to add something to what Manoj said, which I think you're also asking, how do people respond to the idea? Right? When you go into a business, when we go into a business and we say ego versus eco, how do people respond to the idea? Especially because, especially because we're all focused on ego, right? Well, for a long time, this notion of silos has been around in businesses. People working in silos. The accounts department works in a silo, the other department, that they know about. That is ego working. What is ego working? Breaking the silo. So you're working in a company as a whole. Now, we don't have to go to the whole world level to deal with it. The principle of ego and eco comes into play almost every day in everything that we do. In our family, the gentleman was sharing, I forget his name, Kamesh was sharing about his daughter, right? We are with our family, but we are ego in the family. We're not eco in the family. And then he goes there and he sees the way his daughter is, like, wakes him up. Oh my God. I didn't know she had that much of energy and that much of life. And then he sees it in his own in his own team. So teams, teamwork, working in teams, collaborating, co-creating, all a function of eco. You can't do it with ego. And there is, obviously, the boundary keeps shifting. So you say, okay, it's just me, ego. Now it's me and you, we are partners. So we are now ego, but we are ego as partners. Then we are a team and we are ego as a team. But what about the other teams? So this notion of eco is a principle of workability. Without the principle of eco, things don't really work. Is that making sense, Joanne?
Absolutely. I guess the way I look at it is, if I may say this, for people who are on this call, we have the consciousness to appreciate what you're saying. But in a time, especially like now, where a lot of companies, leaders, they are more focused on where's my next cash flow, the boom and bust of their business. And right now it's all about survival, right? And they're reaching for answers inside of what they know, instead of having the capacity to look into the future and say, what's my business going to look like, then, right, and then be backwards. So I have had conversations with different people, just trying to get a sense of where they are. And that's the kind of,
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so that's the resistance, like they have no space to think that far.
Don't deal with it as resistance, roll with it. It is what they're dealing with. It is how their situation is. And until they can actually think outside that box, they will not solve their problem. That much is clear for you. And if you can make it clear for them, they will think outside that box, because they do want to solve their problem. So it's really a question of how you relate to them and how you include them and how you own them. And it's what Manoj is talking about, you yourself being eco to start with. So your eco has to include them. They become part of your ecology. Then you embrace them. Then I don't know, you have to do it in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying, Joan? I'm sure now when you go and meet your clients after this call, you will see them different. That much I'm certain.
Yeah.
Because some of it has started to percolate, right?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
Great.
It is. Yes. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much.
I know we're short of time, Ferdi, but I would like to share 2 examples quickly.
You can. And now we need to end at 6, right?
Yeah, you got 13 minutes. So I'm just leveraging what Joanne shared and as an opportunity. Yeah. So I was coaching CEO of a company, and he was like, oh, yes, we operate from eco principles, and I am always focused on that my team should learn and my team should have great life and everything. And I said, yes, that's great. Better than many people who are only worried about their own success. You are worried about the success of the team. I deeply appreciate that. And then I looked into his business and what the business was about. And I said, okay, but what is the contribution that your business can be for the world? And then we interacted a little bit, and then he could say, oh, yes, this could be the contribution that our business can be in the world. And I said, if you operated your business from that bigger perspective, maybe you can get collaboration and support from many more people. You can actually involve many more people in the whole journey, right? And that just kind of opened up the whole new paradigm for him. Okay. And same way I was dealing with training a team of insurance people, and they were like worried about how they're going to get the premiums, how they're able to sell in this COVID situation where uh, lockdown in India, people cannot travel much at the time and all that stuff. And as we were dealing with all things, I was looking at creating from this ego to eco, and I'm looking for them, what is the biggest service that you can give to your people? What is the value addition that you are doing for your customers? And we had again a series of interactions, and what they saw, what they created as a team is that our contribution is not just selling up insurance, but it's more about the whole education for people in this field. Like, how can we actually have people select what's most appropriate for them, have the deep understanding of what would be the most appropriate for their life and their planning. And they took on training and mastering themselves, because they themselves found that they only had information about their particular products and schemes, but they didn't really have the science behind it. And those people took on mastering, and they did a series, like for 1 month they went through intensive training where each person would take on one subject, master it, and come and share with other team members. And as a team they supported each other to become better in the whole understanding of the insurance and understanding of the science behind it. And now they are looking at the whole context of service. So they're doing business from the context of service. Surprisingly, people are now responding very differently to them. They're like,
Unsurprisingly.
Surprisingly for them. Like they're like, oh, this guy, I just kind of listened to them. I listened to their family problems and whatever they were dealing with, all that stuff. And I went home after that, and they called up back and said, oh, you forgot to take the premium check. And they're able to do a business much bigger than what they ever thought, but now from an authentic context of service. Okay, so it's possible, and slowly can expand the tribe, as they say. Right, over to you, Ferdi.
Yeah, we got how many minutes,
9.
Manoj?
9.
9 minutes. So we need to wrap up. So first of all, I really do want to thank you for participating in this introduction. I hope you got something of value for yourself. Let me just see. Yeah, and I just want to invite you to come and participate in our foundation program. And the next one, we can do these programs on 2 days, like 2 days a weekend, or we can extend it over a period of 10 weeks by doing seminars, and so right now, because of the COVID situation, we've been working on seminars, and we have got a series that is currently on the 14th cohort. We've done 14, 13 other cohorts before them for the last 4 years. The 15th
this is
cohort,
the 15th one, yeah.
Yeah, the 15th cohort, current one is 14. The 15th cohort is starting on September 15th. It's on Tuesdays. It's India time, 7:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. India time. And it's 10 sessions held roughly once per week. That's the link for the brochure if you want to look it up. It costs £500 plus the fees, which is $521.59, and the registration is on Eventbrite. So if you want to register yourself, you can go on to Eventbrite and register yourself there. And you can, if you'd like to pay in Indian rupees, then if you can contact Manoj or Vivek, and they'll make arrangements for you to do it. And the details are right here on the screen. Is there any question for anybody about this? Anyone? It's a very interesting group of people. They don't say anything. All right. So really, thank you. Thank the people who invited you. If you got something out of today, I hope you got something out of today. And if you didn't get anything out of today, curse them, all right? And or blame me or whatever way you want to have it. But I'd love to see some of you come and engage with us and participate with us in September, okay? All right. Thank you very, very much. We'll end a few minutes early unless we don't really have very much else to say. So let's say goodbye and thank you very much and good night and good morning or whatever is relevant for you in the part of the world you're in. It's been lovely engaging with you. Thank you.
And if you have registered through Eventbrite, you would have my numbers in the email. So you can reach out to me on WhatsApp or email or whatever way is appropriate for you. Thank you very much, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, Joanne. Lovely having you.